number one, feeling unsafe. All right. And I think that's probably one of the most important ones. But I would just say that I think number 6 is the one that actually matters most to me. Look, I've written some stuff down here. I've got a lot of points. 7 is what we're going to talk about. But there's a lot of points within them all. So I want you in the comments, before you even hear, I know you've heard the first one, feeling unsafe. I want you to write down what would be your reason of leaving the UK. So why would you go? All right, why would you go? You know I'm not going to go. All right, I'm an Englishman. All right, so I'm not leaving, but that's fine. Doesn't mean you won't. So one of the things about feeling unsafe is quite interesting to me because I don't have children. I've mentioned this before. Now, a lot of people do. So a lot of the emails I got after the last video, which I'll put at the end of this video, was saying, Tim, it's different to you, mate, because you don't have kids. And I'm like, no, I get that. I've taken that on board. I do understand that. The issue I was trying to make in the last video was about wealth generation, really, more than anything. Like people leaving for tax reasons because of these policies that the Labour government are bringing in. Now, feeling unsafe, yes, absolutely. If you're a father, 110%, you know what I mean? If you feel that you're in a city with people that are in your son or daughter's school that are doing things, you know, carrying knives or whatever, yes, you feel unsafe, I would obviously think about leaving the country. Now, rising crime, gang violence, all these things we know about. I'll spend literally 2 minutes for each one of these points. Obviously, antisocial behaviour is on the increase. These areas, especially in the inner cities, are feeling safe. If we still recognise these cities now, Bradford, Leeds, Manchester, Birmingham, London, you know, when you go to these cities, people with my skin colour are in a minority. The global majority now is obviously in these cities. And of course, we are talking about high levels of immigration that are making us feel this way. So when people, well, I'm going to come on to the next one now, but we will cover a bit more of this. I think that policing, all the strain on public services here, and obviously the issues with policing, of course, are making us all feel less safe. So to leave the country because you're unsafe, or more importantly, because you feel your kids are unsafe, yeah, that's a major, major reason. Number two then, I think this is quite an important one. Erosion of British culture and identity. You know where I stand on it, guys. And yes, when you feel affected by what I say, it's because I'm sort of triggering something in you, probably intentionally. I'm doing it to myself. So this is me now looking at what I said before and going over what happened in the last video. And yeah, I understand, you know, I feel triggered by that. You know, I was angry in the last video. Passionate, you know, we're passionate people. So I don't want people to leave. I want people to stand up, and I want people to support England or Scotland, Wales or Ireland. But of course, I understand that we've all got different needs. That's one of those things. So look, rapid demographic change in cities. These have led to a decline of what I would say were traditional British customs and values. We know this. We can see it, right? We can see. So people might want to escape from overcrowding and urban decline. Yeah, we know that. All right, we know that. So this is the erosion of your culture, our culture. And it's a culture we recognise. It's recognised all over the world. We know it is. So a lot of these places feel, as I said before, we can't recognise these cities anymore. When we walk around, we can't see our own kind of people, as it were. And if you remember, prior to 1950, I think fewer than 0.01% of the country was anything other than white British. That's the truth. That's the truth. So we recognise, you know, it's almost going from a high trust to a low trust society, and that's the issue we have. So overcrowding, urban sprawl, poorly planned housing. Well, we'll talk about housing in a minute. I think, you know, that comes up here, doesn't it? Really, really does. Right. Okay. So what else then? Yeah, that comes up. 3. Let's go for 3. This is quite an interesting one for a lot of people, especially young people. I understand, and I am. Well, I think actually the number 5 is, yeah, number 5 is the one for me. But this kind of plays into a better work-life balance. Right. Yeah. We're being taxed the hell out in this country, aren't we? Now, I feel that. Now, what I'm saying is I'm not going to leave the country. I'm going to soak up that tax bill. But when you look at what your tax is going towards and who it's going towards, I just saw that Afghan migrants, and I don't want to be that guy that sensationalises this, but why are Afghan migrants getting £1,000 to learn to drive in the UK when there's young people getting no help at all? I've always said with young people, get them into a house, get them a job, and get them a relationship. And now, this is someone who's going to invest in their country. We're not doing any of those 3 things. None of those 3 things are happening. I look at house prices now and young people getting house prices, and I am like, how do we help people do this? Literally, how can you put people in a house? How can you get them in a relationship? How can you get them a stable job? Without that, it's an well, I think it's a lost leader. But so if you can go somewhere else and you can find those things, a better work-life balance. Some of these countries, I think it was Australia, New Zealand, they prioritise a work-life balance, shorter working hours, they get more paid leave than us. I know America doesn't, but you know, do your research. Higher taxation, obviously we're working longer hours, we know that, and that means we can't build the wealth that we need in order to go and buy these houses. So we can't build wealth, so you end up paying lots of rent. We all know this, of course, and then that rent, you're paying so much rent, especially in the cities like Manchester and London. How are you ever going to be able to afford a house there at all? You're probably not, of course. And of course, we're giving a lot of these, a lot of immigrants that are coming in, of course, are on social housing, which is creating even more of a problem because there's not enough houses to go around then for young people to get on. Okay, better business and career opportunities elsewhere. Yes. Better opportunities, freedoms abroad. Yeah, I think that's a massive one. And we go into this one in the next one as well. So I don't want to, but property price in the UK, we talked about that. Other countries do offer better value for money. I would say in the majority of countries. In the comments, tell me if you think I'm wrong, or say, look, I've got a mate went to Hungary and he's paying this much rent, and I've got a mate lives in London paying this. I'm interested in that. I do read all comments. I try to anyway, you know. Also, people like me, a bit of an entrepreneur, I've got a couple of businesses. Apparently, business restrictions in these other countries a lot of other countries are better. Job prospects are better, lower taxation, a lot of countries, business-friendly policies. Yeah. Now, my brother's in Dubai, you know, keeps saying to me, hey, come to Dubai, Tim. Now, I run a business. So this is one of the things I wanted to talk about before we cover number 4. So I run 2 businesses. Well, two and a half, you know, it goes off and on, doesn't it, with the guys, you know, like myself. But I'm paying a lot of tax. Now, if I went to Dubai, I'd pay none. So, you know, my brother's like, hey, come to Dubai. I'm like, I could do that. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to leave England. I haven't got children, so I'm not worried about that safety aspect that a lot of guys are worried about with their kids, especially young children. I totally understand. So when people say, oh, Tim, you're going to criticize me for leaving, I'm not, mate. I'm not at all. I know who you are. Would I do the same? I don't think I would, but I don't live in an inner city either. And of course, you know, if I had kids, you know, I don't live in an inner city. If you do, especially if your kids are in a state school, not in a public school, I get it. I understand. You know, we're all men here. We all understand the threats out there. So I'm not having to go at anyone here. I'm having to go at people that run away for better tax reasons because they're worried about the tax they're paying in England. And I understand that as well. And we come on to that. We come on to that in a minute because I want to talk about that a little bit. Number 4. This is a big one for a lot of people. Better weather and climate. Absolutely. The UK is a bit gloomy. It is a bit wet, isn't it? People get seasonal affective disorder. It's hard. It's not easy. Spain, Portugal, Australia, much sunnier, much more stable climates. I think even Germany, you know, I really like Germany, southern Germany, the outdoors side of things. The reason I like Germany is especially with things like Nordic skiing. You can go from village to village. It's amazing. So warmer climates provide opportunities for healthy living. They really do. Being outside, we're supposed to be outside. Beaches, hiking, outdoor sports, and better weather leads to stronger social connections because we're outside meeting people. So when it says better weather and climate, yeah, but I'm a pluviophile, so I like the rain. I like being in a car when it's really hammering rain, like the last video. I love that, you know what I mean? But I know people don't, but I get it. Number 5, this is the one that I think appeals to me the most. Again, hopefully you've written something in the comments now. This is why I'd leave, Tim, because when I read it, what we do is we find a trend. That's why people want to leave. I don't think this is going to be in the comments much, but for me it would be, and that's a desire for adventure. So we all kind of feel a bit trapped right now, probably post what happened in 2020. A bit of a monotonous regime, as it were. You know, we're craving new experiences, we're craving challenges, we all know that. We know the economy is slowing, we know that, and moving abroad offers, I put down here, like opportunities to learn new languages. So as you age, like me, I'm 50 now, I'm trying to learn a bit of German because I'm interested, but I'm also just trying to keep the brain a bit active, learn a new hobby, new learned skill. And when you're in any country and you're surrounded and immersed with that language, you have to learn, even go to the supermarket, that kind of stuff, you see the same words. So your brain is active. I think that is brilliant. That's a brilliant reason for going to another country. Exploring different cultures, embracing a sort of a different way of life, a more dynamic way of life, maybe it could be. So, and also, you know, seeking a fresh start. Maybe you've had a bad relationship here. You know what I mean? It could be anything, couldn't it, really? You think, you know what, I'm going to go somewhere else. And people write to me some pretty angry emails, really. Hey, Tim, I left the country back in 1980. I'd never come back. And I'm not talking about these people. Because when they left, the country wasn't like it is now. And that's understandable. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about people that are leaving now primarily for financial reasons. So when people say, hey Tim, I don't feel safe, or I want to go on an adventure, or the weather's rubbish, yeah, I understand all that. We're going to get on the political stuff now. Yeah, so there are a lot of countries out there that are growing a lot faster than us, believe me. This is 6, and we're going to wrap it up. This one is a big one for a lot of us, I think, especially on this channel. Declining personal freedoms, and I've written down overregulation here. Yeah. Government overreach. I'm a small government guy. I want smallest amount of government. You know what I mean? I really do. There's high tax burdens here, believe me, I know that. We've got restrictions on what we can say. I know that. Literally, I lost a job because of what I said about the Royal Air Force with diversity. We know that. I lost a job about it, all right? Had to start my own business, you know what I mean? That took ages. My wife was not the happiest bunny rabbit in the box, believe me. Tells me that a lot, by the way. Increasing surveillance. That's another thing, isn't it? Look at my YouTube channel, you'll see the views dropping off. This is when I talk about certain subjects, it's throttled. And if you look at the graph on certain videos, you'll see them going like this, and then it'll be a flat line like that, because I've said something. It goes up, flat line. Normally takes about 8 hours, flat line across the top, probably less than that, 6 to 8 hours. So there are some things that people don't want you to say. I mean, it's outrageous, but that's just the country we live in. It's amazing that it's the UK that's doing this. Do you find it? It's the UK that's doing this. I just find it incredible. I find it amazing. Okay, so yes, other countries don't have this kind of online censorship or surveillance, really. I think that's the feeling of being constantly monitored. Some people, and this is why people are posting in there anonymously, of course, or on Twitter anonymously, they feel they cannot openly express their views due to that cancel culture, political correctness thing. And, you know, I've embraced that. I'm going to say what I say and come hell and high water. I think that's what Englishmen should do. But what if you got a job and you're providing for your kids and you cannot risk saying that? Yeah, I understand it. And this is England. So I understand it. I understand that. Like, why are you contributing to a country that wants to censor free speech? But then again, I'm a free speech absolutionist, so I don't believe in hate speech laws or anything, but that's, you know, we can talk about that later. Countries with greater economic freedom and fewer regulations. Well, you know, you've got to be careful, because there's some things I've written some countries down here, but there are some countries, of course, where you can't say what you want either. Even more restricted than the UK. So have a look and really think about those countries before you go. Yeah, there's things you can't say in certain countries. I still think we can say quite a lot in the UK. But anyway, this is the last one then, and we're going to go now. So more than anything is the political and the economic uncertainty, I think. When you're trying to grow a business like me and you're walking into tax hurdles like that, you know, like I am, it doesn't make sense to keep growing that business, because for every student I take in, now I'm pretty much hit with a higher tax bracket on everyone. So although my students are paying me like maybe 40 quid a month, I'm getting 20 quid. And 20 quid is going to the government, who goes and gives it to an Afghan to go and have a £1,000 driving lesson. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden, that £40 subscription I was getting a month is now a £20 subscription. Why would I keep taking on these students when I've got to deliver all that? You know, I've got to deliver all my experience to them and teach them. I'm teaching students for 20 quid a month now as opposed to 40 quid a month. So that political economic uncertainty, walking into higher tax brackets, leadership. What leadership is there in the UK right now? I've never known a worse PM. I would say Johnson was pretty bad, but this is something that we'd probably disagree with, but for many, many reasons. Conservatives were as bad as I think as Labour. Labour probably a little bit bad. Cost of living crisis, we know it's a massive one. Again, if you've got something I haven't mentioned here, hit it in the comments, all right? This is just the ones that I think are important. Economic policies, limited career growth in many businesses. I see a lot of people just stagnating. I know people trying to join the Royal Air Force again, and a guy wrote to me this morning, he's like, Tim, they want to assess my last 4, this guy's not even in the Air Force, he's been out for like 5-6 years. They want his last 4 reports. You get last 4 reports for him. They're asking him to come back in, but they want to assess his last 4 reports. He's like, dude, you're asking me to come in. You're asking me to come in, literally, and you're going to hammer me on these last 4 reports? It's like incredible. We're jumping through hoops here. It's almost like they don't want people. So with businesses, you've got to jump jobs every 2 or 3 years, and that might mean you've got to move around the country, and now you've got to take your kids out of school. It's a difficult place out there, and it's caused by instability within the politics and everything else. Frequent government changes, policy shifts, obviously, I'm going to say the Brexit word, inflation, high debt levels I've got down here, and making just long-term financial planning really, really difficult. We're going to go. A lot of industries are in decline, really are. I think some of the countries around the world have looked at us and said that we are a declining nation now. Tell me how you think about that in the comments. And many professionals, entrepreneurs, see better long-term prospects in countries with stable economies and pro-business policies, such as places like Dubai. You know, I know the rent's expensive in Dubai, but you're saving a lot of money, I guess, in the tax, and that's what happens. I know you can't really go out. I'm using Dubai as an example. I'm not interested in going there. I know people are. But look, if you've taken nothing else away from this, I just want to make one thing very, very clear to you before I go, all right? Thank you for watching to the end, by the way. Whack stuff in the comments, you know what I mean? I do try and get there and answer them. If you feel unsafe in this country, it's a no-brainer, mate. Take the family, move somewhere else. Spain, Portugal, Cyprus is a big one. Have a look at that, all right? I looked at Malta as well, looked at some other places. But personally, you know, I don't feel unsafe because I do not live in a major city. I'm very careful about when I am in cities and what I'm doing, but I haven't got kids in school. And if you've got kids in school where there's, you know, people walking around outside taking pictures of your children, I don't know what I'd do apart from, you know, try and be at that school gate every morning to meet those people. But that's, you know, I'll be in jail then, wouldn't I? You know what I mean? So if you feel unsafe, you know, if there's any doubt, there is no doubt. From a military background, any doubt, no doubt, get out. That's talking about ejection, but that could well talk about you and what you're going to be doing about, you know, moving abroad and starting a new life somewhere else. I appreciate the conversation that's happened in the comments, guys. You know, I am a passionate man, right? When it comes to, you know, serve my country 20 years, whatever. That was them. You know what I mean? I'm an Englishman here, and, you know, I read a lot of history and stuff, and I don't want to be letting my ancestors down. But, you know, you do you. And I really appreciate you hitting the comments and watching the channel. Thanks, guys. Till next time, Tim Davies, Fast Ship Performance.